Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be checking out a brand new Mega Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, and that is Mega Gardevoir. Mega Gardevoir is a Psychic and Fairy type Pokemon, and for the moveset I'll be running Charm, Legacy Synchronoise, and Shadow Ball. Mega Gardevoir looks to be an absolute beast for the Mega Master League that will be arriving at the end of the month. So I decided to test it out in some Mega Master League battles with members of my Discord. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Mega Gardevoir in the Master League. Hopping to the first match, picking up a great lead Therian Landorus into Melmetal. Considering I have two Fairy types in the back, I definitely am happy to catch the steal on the lead. They're going to slightly overfarm and then go for the Rock Slide here. Rock Slide is going to hit for neutral damage. I'm going to farm up slightly and then go for the Superpower. This won't quite KO, but it will do a lot of damage. Superpower, able to land, opponent save switches into Togekiss, and even though my attack is lowered, the Stone Edge is still going to hurt. Stone Edge onto the Togekiss, gets the shield. Let's unleash Mega Gardevoir, and look at the charms absolutely tearing through Togekiss. Togekiss goes for an Ancient Power. Mega Gardevoir shrugs it off, fully farms down, and leaves with a move loaded. You've got to be kidding me. In the back, the opponent has Metagross, and I'm going straight for the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is going to grab the final shield from the opponent. I do have to watch for a potential catch. I'm going to send in Lando. Opponent goes for the catch onto Melmetal. I'm going to shield, bank some moves, and then I'm going to send in the Zacian. Zacian should be able to snarl down, and I should be in a pretty good spot to finish out this game. Alright, they go for the Rock Slide here. Rock Slide just not going to do enough damage to Zacian. Zacian gets the full farm down. Back in comes the Metagross, but Metagross unfortunately just has a bit too much to do here. As Metagross not going to get the farm down, Zacian makes it to the close combat number 2. That's going to KO the Metagross, and that is a good game. Moving into the next match, picking up a fairly neutral lead, Therian Landorus into Zacian. My opponent is running a Quick Attack Zacian. I'm going to stay in this matchup to start and go for the Stone Edge. I want to get some nice chip damage onto the Zacian before I'm going to save switch into my own. I am running Snarl on my Zacian, which means I will typically lose the Mirror. However, I have gotten some nice chip damage off onto my opponent. They go for the Play Rough. That does quite a bit of damage. My opponent is barely able to outpace as they make it to Play Rough number 2. I will commit the shield here as Play Rough would be lethal, and I'm looking to overfarm quite a lot. I farm to 100, and I'm going for the Play Rough. Decision time for my opponent. My opponent chooses to let the Zacian go. They're going to send in Mega Gyarados. Mega Gyarados definitely not going to appreciate the Play Rough from Zacian. Play Rough, big damage onto the Mega Gyarados. Great counting by my opponent as they're going to fire off an Aqua Tail just before I make it to a move. But I have a second Fairy type in the back. In comes Mega Gardevoir in the back. My opponent has Mewtwo, and look at the Mewtwo get shredded by Charm. Oh my goodness, Mega Gardevoir. I'm going to shield. Opponent baits with a Side Strike. I'm going to send in Landorus to force them to throw their energy. At this point, I think I should be okay here. Opponent goes for the Side Strike. Landorus able to hang on and leave with 1 HP loaded. Gyarados gets the farm down, but Gardevoir will be able to tank whatever Mega Gyarados has. It's just the Aqua Tail, and that is a good game. Picking up a decent lead in the next match, Therian Landorus into Metagross. Considering I have two Fairy types in the back, I'm very happy to catch the Metagross on the lead. I'm going to look to overfarm quite a bit here. So does my opponent, so eventually I need to start launching these Superpowers. Superpower number 1 not going to KO, but gets them low, and I win CMP with Superpower number 2. This Superpower is going to grab a shield from my opponent, and I'm definitely matching shields here as I need to get rid of this Metagross. So I will commit the shield here, and I'm making it to Superpower number 3, but my opponent switches and makes a nice catch, catching Superpower onto Mega Ampharos. Bad news for Mega Ampharos, though. I have Mega Gardevoir, and it is absolutely shredding the poor Ampharos. Ampharos makes it to 1 Thunder Punch before it gets KO'd, but now Gardevoir leaves with some energy. Does the opponent send back in the Metagross? They do not. They're going to send in their Giratina. I'm going to fire off the Synchronoise here. I was a little worried of a potential Shadow Sneak, and I figured they were probably going to shield anyway, which they do. Giratina looking for the farm down, but they lose almost 3/4 of their HP to do so. The charms from Mega Gardevoir are absolutely crazy. They do have Ancient Power. As long as they don't boost, I should be in a very nice spot here. They're just going to continue to fire off Ancient Powers, hoping for a boost, but unfortunately no boost is arriving. My opponent makes a very nice catch, catching that Play Rough onto their Metagross, but unfortunately still not quite going to be enough to get the win, as I'm still not in Ancient Power range. Ancient Power gets it low, but Zacian able to hang on and make it to the Play Rough. Play Rough more than enough to take care of the Giratina and secure the win. We're going up against some spice in the next match. Therian Landorus into Darmanitan. Darmanitan, of course, is extremely frail, but has a massive damage output. I'm going straight for the Stone Edge here. This will guarantee a shield from my opponent. Darmanitan continuing to farm, and I do want to respect a potential overheat, so I will commit the shield. Opponent goes for a Rock Slide. They're going to save switch into Mewtwo. I'm going to fire off this Stone Edge here to grab a shield or deal a nice amount of damage. It lands, and then I can send in Zacian. I should be able to reach a close combat before they make their second Side Strike, and that's quite nice, as this way I can either force switch advantage or that final shield. So I'm going to fire off close combat here. Close combat is going to get the shield from my opponent, and at this point, I'm just going to save the shield, and I'm going to send in Mega Gardevoir. In comes Gardevoir, able to delete the Mewtwo. What do they have in the back here? Are they going to send in Darmanitan? They're going to send in a Steel Wing Mega Aerodactyl. The Steel Wings are super effective. The Charms are neutral, but it looks like Charm is actually doing slightly more damage here. They go for the Rock Slide. Mega Gardevoir charms down the Aerodactyl and leaves with the Synchronoise loaded. Synchronoise KOs Darmanitan, and Gardevoir's wrath continues. Bit of a tough lead in the next match. Therian Landorus into Mewtwo. I will immediately save switch into my Zacian. Mewtwo staying in this matchup and going to fire off a Psy Strike. I'm going to let this go, as I do comfortably tank a Psy Strike, and I am going to look to return fire with the Play Rough here. Play Rough, of course, does not one-shot, but it will do a sizable chunk of damage onto the Mewtwo. Mewtwo staying in this matchup, and Mewtwo is going to be firing off their Psy Strike here. I decide to let this go. I'm just going to trust in Gardevoir. Gardevoir gets the farm down. Opponent is going to send in Shadow Ursaluna, and look at the charm damage onto Ursaluna. Oh my goodness. They go for the Thunder Punch there. Gardevoir continuing to farm. Opponent sends in Mega Ampharos. I'm going to do as much charm damage as possible and then send in my Therian Landorus. Let's see what they have. They're running Dragon Pulse, and that deals a ton of damage. I'm looking for the farm down here. I should be able to leave with double superpower loaded, and I have the Synchronoise, so I should be able to get both shields with the superpowers, and then as long as I'm not at 1 HP, which I don't believe I am, Gardevoir should be able to deal the killing blow with Synchronoise. I'm going to fire off superpower number 2 here. Shadow Ursaluna, of course, is going to be committing the final shield. We'll have to see. Mega Gardevoir is going to get the move. Synchronoise will easily be getting rid of Shadow Ursaluna, and that's a good game. We've got an interesting lead in the next match. Therian Landorus into Mega Charizard Y. Charizard, of course, is very spammy with Wing Attack, but I do have access to Stone Edge, but my opponent makes an incredibly good catch, catching the Stone Edge onto Magnezone. Bad news for Magnezone, though. It is getting absolutely torn to shreds by Mudshot. I'm at the back-to-back superpowers here. I'm going to fire off the superpower. Magnezone commits the shield. I'll switch into Zacian to absorb the damage. And this Magnezone is running a very spicy moveset, as they're going to land the Flash Cannon. That's not great for me. I will fire off the close combat here to grab the KO. But the bad news is that Charizard has a lot of energy stored, and it's only getting more after it farms down the Zacian. I'm thinking to win this game, I may have to try and call a Dragon Claw bait. It's going to be really, really tough. I'm going to send in Landorus. They just have so much energy here. I do have 2 shields. I call a bait. It's a Blast Burn, and unfortunately, that's basically game over. Mega Gardevoir can do some truly insane damage, but going up against a fire type Mega, like Mega Charizard Y, there's just not a lot it can do. I call a bait. It's the Blast Burn, and that's a good game. Tough lead in the next match, Therian Landorus into Kyogre. I will need to save switch out of this matchup, and I'm gonna send in Zacian right away. Kyogre staying in here, and they allow me to throw first, so I'm going straight for the Play Rough. This will get some nice chip damage onto Kyogre. Kyogre tanks the damage here. They're farming up a ton of energy, and they're gonna send in their own Gardevoir, but notably, this is the regular Gardevoir, not the Mega. Play Rough is able to land. Gardevoir looking for the farm down. Zacian able to withstand the charms on a low amount of health and make it to the Play Rough and grab a shield from the Gardevoir. That is incredible. Now I can send in Therian Landorus and look to try and farm down. And this is the big difference between regular Gardevoir and the Mega. The Mega just hits so much harder. In comes Kyogre. Kyogre did bank a bunch of energy, so I will shield the Surf here. And now I'm at the back-to-back superpowers. Decision time for Kyogre. Do they commit the shield? They do not. In the back, my opponent has a Raikou, so a very cool pick. Raikou, unfortunately, is probably going to be able to make the double wild charges here. We'll have to see, is this going to be enough to KO here? I commit the shield, the charm goes through, so if I live, the Raikou is dead. Wild charge, not enough to KO. I charm down Kyogre, and that's a good game. Moving into the next match, leading Therian Landorus into Reshiram. Not a bad lead by any means, as I do of course have access to super effective Stone Edge. So I'm going to fire off Stone Edge to grab an early shield or deal a ton of damage, and then save switch into Zacian. I'm going to send in Zacian. Reshiram farming up a ton of energy here. Fusion Flare will hurt, but I will be able to survive it. Fusion Flare is going to land, farming up, going for the Play Rough, but my opponent switches on the exact moment I get to the Play Rough, and they're able to make a nice catch onto Solgaleo. I don't really want to get farmed down, so I'm just going to overfarm to back-to-back close combats. If they go for the Psychic Fangs here, I think I can barely survive it, but it turns out it barely KOs, and now I just lost a bunch of energy. So things going from bad to worse, but I baited out the Steel type, so I just have to hope that Gardevoir can beat whatever they have in the back. I go for the superpower that barely does not KO, but the Mud Shots do. I'm going to send in Mega Gardevoir. These charms are only neutral, but they are definitely chunking this Reshiram. I commit the shield on the Fusion Flare. In the back, my opponent has Melmetal. Definitely not the Pokemon that Mega Gardevoir was hoping to see, and they farmed up a ton of energy. Please don't be the Flash Cannon, and it's the Flash Cannon. You hate to see it. Unfortunately, Mega Gardevoir not going to be able to clutch this one. I go for the Synchronoise as it's slightly cheaper, hoping I'm going to be able to outpace, but a Charmer is not outpacing anyone. They will make it to Flash Cannon number 2. That's going to KO. I can't even farm up to back-to-back superpowers as I will get outpaced. Melmetal makes to the superpower, and that's game over. We've got some spice in the final match. Therian Landorus into XL Kommo-o. I'm going to stay in this matchup to start because I want to try and catch a Dragon Claw. I'm going to farm up, switch into Zacian, but my opponent holds onto their energy. They're throwing their energy here, which means they're probably running an atypical moveset, and they are, as they land a Flamethrower. Now they're going to send in Mega Charizard Y. I don't have Wild Charge, but they don't know that. I go for the close combat, and I'm able to grab a shield. That is incredibly good. I'm just going to let this go at this point. My Zacian has done its job. It baited out the Fire type. Now I have to make sure I can get rid of it with the Landorus, so hopefully Mega Gardevoir can sweep in the endgame. I'm going to overfarm with my Therian Landorus and go for the Stone Edge. Stone Edge one-shots the Mega Charizard Y. Opponent sends in Kommo-o, and look at these charms absolutely deleting the Kommo-o. Kommo-o only makes it to a Dragon Claw. In the back, the opponent has Metagross. Not what I was hoping to see, but if they try and farm down, Mega Gardevoir is so bulky that I actually make it to a Shadow Ball and grab the final shield. And as you can see, these charms have Metagross below half health. It cannot be understated how much damage Mega Gardevoir can do. My goodness. At this point, I just have to double up on superpowers, and I should have the game won. I will commit both shields on both their Meteor Mashes, and I make it to the back-to-back. Superpower is going to KO the Metagross, and we have superpower number 2 for the Kommo-o. Down goes Kommo-o, and that is a good game. All in all, Mega Gardevoir looks to be an absolute beast in the Mega Master League. This thing is the top tier charmer in the meta, so definitely a Pokemon while it's in raids, probably worth getting some Mega Energy because man, charms from Mega Gardevoir just absolutely shred the competition. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.